Raphael here with an update on the 2D game engine that I'm making in the Windows GDI just for fun. So I created a background class now to kind of separate the background from the viewport, um, because the way I had it working before is, let me show some original code here. This was the background. This is how the backgrounds were working. Let's see if we can just get it right there. This is how the backgrounds were working before. As you can see here, just take this up. They were actually part of this uh, viewport class. And so I was implementing different types of backgrounds, and I was noticing that this was blowing up. So that's usually my cue that tells me, hey, we probably need to turn this into a class, and it gives us a little bit more room to work with, lets us add more variables and, really tweak it. So now it really looks really nice. So I made the background class, pretty simple stuff. Got all the code in there. So now when we define a background, I also created some defines for it right here. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? Right here. So we got different types: static, scroll, parallax, motion. I will be demonstrating those. I've also made some bug fixes to the, fix a couple of bugs and other stuff like that. So we're gonna start off with the first background, which is just a static background. And a static background is a background that doesn't move. So we initialize the background right here in WM Create, depending on what scene you're trying to create. If you're trying to create a game menu or like the intro screen, we do that through viewports. And right now I only have one viewport set up right here. But if I wanted to have a viewport that displayed a menu or something, I would create a different viewport for that with a different set of settings, like background or a back buffer or any sprites that I may want to use. Still working on this, still tweaking this, but that would be the idea. Let's see now. But this is how you define the background right here. I give it the reference to a bitmap object. That background object would be this right here. Where is it? Right here. So that's the resource to our background. So we have background 1 BMP, which is a really funky looking background. Some of these, I found these online. I will try to credit the authors. I should have done that before I did this video, but you don't gotta credit the author. Some of these backgrounds are mine. Others are not. I think only one is mine, and that's the scrolling background. But anyway, let's see the first one in business, and you can see the first one is just a simple, really nice looking background. But this one doesn't really scroll. It doesn't do anything. It just remains static in the background, and of course our level is always gonna scroll, but you can see how it behaves. This one really messes with the eyes. Let's drop down here. You can see how that looks. Oh, let's just take a tour around the level. You can see this background doesn't move. It's just in one spot all the time. Whoops, gotta go the other way. Okay, so that's background 1. That's called a static background. Now we're gonna take a look at the other background, which is a scrolling background. And then a scrolling background is really just a large scrolling background. There's no science to it. I'll also explain what this little number here means. So now that we've done that, we want to switch our background type, because if we don't, the game will actually try to scroll the little colorful background we have, and it might be all messed up. So we got to go back in here and choose the background type. I believe it is 4 for the big fat scrolling background. There we go. Some of you guys might remember this one. And this is a background that's basically just the size of the level. See, this background just scrolls along with the level. This one looks really nice, but of course, if you were doing something like this, it would make a lot more sense to bake the textures or the sprites into the actual level, and then just use a bunch of collision rectangles to define the surfaces. That way you kind of save on blit operations. But this really large background is about 24 something megabytes, I think, maybe even bigger. So if you have a lot of these, say, I'm planning to have a lot of levels for this game, maybe, I mean, a lot. So you could imagine if you have 100 levels, I mean, you do the math, 24 times 100, that's a lot of space on just backgrounds, so you kind of want to limit yourself to these types of backgrounds. But they look really nice. Okay, so we're gonna go to the next background now. We're gonna choose number 2, and I believe the next one is a parallax scrolling background. I think the one is for this one is a city. I'm not sure. But yes, it is a city. And you can see the thing with parallax backgrounds is that they scroll like a scroll bar. So if you just imagine that the level itself was the document, the background would be the scroll bar, telling you the position of the document, if that makes any sense. So it just basically scrolls at a pace that allows us to get to the end of the background, So we go back, you can see it scrolls very slowly, and it's basically just showing, it only scrolls enough that it allows us to get to the end in synchronization with the level. And there's a little special formula that you use for that, and you just divide the dimension of the back buffer by the dimension of the background width, and you multiply that by 2, and then you take wherever you're presently at in the level, and you calculate a position to display the background. I think I'm hearing my computer fans going. So this background can also scroll via the y-axis if it was big enough, but I think that this is a much nicer effect to just have it like this, sitting in one spot and only scrolling on the x-axis. Right, so let's move on to the last background, which is the motion background. Now this is where this comes into play. This little number right here defines the speed of the motion background, is how fast the background should move, and this is a float. So all we do is we increment by that number, and we just animate the background. We just basically loop it. Now there's different types of these backgrounds that we can set. They can either be going, this implementation is fairly new, so it may change. So now we have to select the right bitmap for this one, and here we go. This is gonna look like we're on a spaceship or something. So there we go. This is called the motion background, and this one's used to like illustrate, the speed. Maybe Maybe they're on a spaceship or something, they're going through space, or maybe they're on a vehicle that's moving really, really fast, and we want to create that illusion of, speed while they fight off some enemies. But you can see how nice and smooth this is. It really gives you that sense of speed that, that whatever we're on it is moving very fast. Very nice. I love it. It's very nice and smooth. Very nice. Look at that. She's jumping. This is another spring platform here. This one jumps a little bit higher. There we go. I'm just testing things. Every time I do a run, I try to test things to see if everything's working the way it's supposed to. And right now, this game, it feels really polished right now. I had a lot of bugs when I started. A ton of bugs. You don't even imagine. Uh, Now the sprites are actually walking correctly. They're jumping correctly. The animations are not. They're not going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs anymore. So this is gonna be a hit, man. Yeah. So that's all I got for now. I do plan to add more background types, but now that I finally separated this into a class, I can definitely continue to add different background types. And now I can focus on what I want to do next with this. Um, I know. I gotta sit down, and this is the fun part. I get to sit down and figure out what I want to add next. Now I want to start adding like enemies and stuff like that, but I gotta sit down, relook at my code, recheck my code, make sure everything's good, and we'll be set to go. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next update. Thank you so much for watching. You know what to do. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like it, then you go ahead and dislike it. Leave any comments if you want. I'll ask any questions. I'll answer any questions to the best of my abilities. If I don't have the answer, I'll try to point you to the person that has the answer. And yeah, stay cool, guys. Bye-bye.